Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. There's no adjustments to the agenda. Doesn't look like we have any indigent business, so Shanda?
Good thing you came 15 minutes early so you can be right out the gate.
Right? In and out. Good morning, Commissioners. Shanda Crystal, Chief Procurement Officer. I am hoping to have Dan Kendall join me, but he might have been caught up this morning yet. I am here to discuss a recommendation to award the janitorial services RFP. We went out earlier this year in July for requests for proposals for services. Just a little bit of history on that bid. So that's a new service that we had tried out this year, and it had gone so well. And as we started out with 2 buildings, we started out with the courthouse and the annex. As that went so well, we added 4 more buildings on top of that contract. Then that has progressed, and Dan was excited with the way that that was going, and so we went out for bid for the biggest changes being that we added 6 more buildings this year. So they're looking at a lot more, all the way down south to the McCammon shop, and as far north as the event center buildings are the ones that we're adding this year. In those additions, we have also extended the possibility of having this contract for 3 years. There's still going to be the same stipulations that the the awarded contractor is going to have to perform well. We still have termination for convenience, termination for cause. Those are both still built into the contract that has been passed through legal. So those are still in there. There's also that non-appropriation clause in there, which is required that we have that as far as, so as the budgets roll forward, our budget isn't set for this year. If for any reason the board were to decide to not fund that project, those contracts would be canceled. And we would move forward in a different direction with the board.
So if we take buildings off, are they set up in the contract individually, how much we pay per building? Or
No, that is not currently how we have it set up in the contract. They do evaluate the prices that were turned in based on a per square footage. So that's kind of how we looked at that. But the contract as it sits now is not a cost per building. We could look at adjusting that, right? It's not final. We haven't awarded the project, right? I just had that skeleton pass through legal, so it was ready to go. But we could adjust that in case there's any additions or removals of different facilities. The building on Lander is one of them that is currently listed on there.
and that's what I'm kind of questioning, rather.
Is the contract set up per square footage? Is that how you did the calculation for the total square footage?
So the contract, no. The contract just has a not to exceed amount. That not to exceed amount would be their bid amount that they put in. The bid was based on the 12 buildings that do list out the square footage. We just asked for an annual price to do the work that we had listed. The evaluation team did look and was able to evaluate the annual price that they gave us based on the square footage that we had listed, is how they looked and were able to compare those costs as well.
And you're still, it's not quite finalized yet? Or?
The contract, no. Nope, because this is the first step, is that we need to award that bid, and then we can move forward with the contract, and we can build that in. We can list out the different costs per building, so then if anything were removed, if anything were added, we'd have to do an amendment to it.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a few ways you could go with that, so that sounds good.
And we do have a few weeks as well.
Does this include the village?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Yep.
that contract amount won't all be paid by Dan Kendall's budget?
Oh. Okay.
Because the village is
Using-
paying their own.
Okay. Out of their grant.
So I'll just split that cost.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And right, I'll send Dan to you to make sure that, because I'm sure they'll just have the single invoice, but, or however we want to set that up, because we could break that out, have them bill it separate.
Yeah.
Whichever.
Somehow we just need to know that different amount, just as you're building that contract, if you can
Okay,
keep that in
separate
mind
that
as well.
specific building.
Yeah.
Yep, we can sure do that.
And then I know we talked about this in budget, but I just want to make sure we're funding the increase in this contract through attrition with some of the people on our staff currently.
That Christie
correct?
would have to,
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just want to make sure.
okay.
Okay.
But we can look, I'll review with Dan about the buildings and listing out on the contract. So as that comes before the board, you'll see that breakout. And then we would be able to separate that invoicing or somehow get that to work that the grant can pay for theirs.
As you work through the contract, just if you'll let me know, and then we
There's
can,
Dan right there.
maybe somehow on the invoice, we can make sure it's
Noted that that is.
how much the village is. Let me know as you start building the contract, because it might even be beneficial to know how much we're paying for each building.
Right.
Which goes back.
I don't know that they need to do that on the invoice,
Okay.
but if we have it within the contract, then that way, if we ever have to provide costs of, say, the jail, or if, I don't know if the jail's being cleaned, but the
But a
difference,
specific location,
then
can
we,
pull that up.
we know how we can pull that out, yeah.
Gotcha.
But the village, we definitely would need to have them list separate.
So I was reviewing in general, and then we moved over to the contract. Right now, the contract doesn't break out per building and the cost. We feel that that is a good direction to go in case there's any adjustments that we need to make.
Okay.
If the land or building is sold, right, we'd be able to remove that. If there's different places we want to add on, we can do that through amendment. And then Christy brought up the village and the different funding source to pay the invoice that will work out the invoicing accordingly.
And everybody feels comfortable with the 3-year agreement?
Yes, much better than the 1 year, I think.
I don't necessarily love it, but I think that it's been a good thing so far, so I'm willing to go with it.
But there is avenues for an out,
Yes.
depending on what the situation is.
And there's a performance clause, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think with the, as you discussed, the avenues to, if we had to terminate, I think that's sufficient.
Is there a cost increase annually?
Our recommendation to award to the company, no, it'll be solid for 3 years.
Okay.
Would be the individual we chose.
All right?
That being said, Dan put together a great evaluation team. We had 2 people off of his facilities crew, one from Public Works and one from Human Resources. That really provided a great cross-section from all the county areas. Their team did a great job of getting in there. I was impressed with some of the comments that they had left in the different directions at which they looked at and reviewed some of the things that we asked for. We put 58% of our scoring totals on the technical proposal and 42% on cost. We wanted to make sure that that the courthouse could be comfortable with the individuals based on their experience, right? The cleaning, secure facility, as well as when you're looking at Road and Bridge and they have, chemicals and different security factors out there as well as the cost, right? We wanted to balance those 2 things out. As they looked and reviewed, we had 4 companies submit RFPs for this process, which all came in fantastic. As their evaluation team reviewed what was submitted, we do have a apparent winner, and that is who we would like to recommend the board award the contract to, and that is Night Owl Janitorial.
Who do we have now?
That is the company that we currently have.
Okay. Questions?
Nope.
Motion?
Mr. Chair, I would I would move that we award the contract to Night Owl Janitorial as presented.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And I do, if I can possibly hand them any more awkwardly to Christine, I do have letters prepared for the board awarding that contract as recommended. So the next step is then making those adjustments that we've discussed today to that contract. That will be resubmitted through legal. It's no material change, so that should just glide right through legal. We'll send it to Christy as well, just so you're aware of how that's broken out in there. And then as we send that to Night Owl Janitorial for review, in the next couple of weeks, it'll come back before the board for official review.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Ryan? Mark?
Yeah, just
Go
over
ahead.
here is good.
Okay.
Good.
Hello.
Agenda, see what you have attached. But I believe,
Five of each.
okay. Let's take one and pass it down. Okay. So, I believe most of you know Mark Siemens from Real Benefit Solutions, but I'll give him the floor in just a moment. But we've used LifeMap for our employee benefit for life insurance, employer-provided life insurance, as well as voluntary life insurance that they pay for, as well as a long-term disability and a long-term disability optional buy-up. And we've been doing this for many, many years. And we've been going through LifeMap, and recently LifeMap, was it acquired or merged?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of those words or both, just a situation where there was a relationship that was tight and there were two companies. There was no need to have two companies. They merged them. US Able was the bigger of the two, so they retained that name.
Right. And so it's caused a little bit of a change to what we are able to provide for the employees for this next fiscal year. And Mark, do you want to, since you're here, do you want to explain a little better? You could do better than me.
Okay. As far as the voluntary life insurance program, when they made this merger, the LifeMap plan that we had primarily one very unique provision, which was a little insane for an insurance company, but it's one of the reasons we went with it, because it was really a great offering, and that was the step-up guarantee. With the voluntary life, that's the option that people have, that if they want to provide more life insurance on themselves or their spouses or their children, they can do so at their own expense. And with this plan that we had a step-up guarantee, because there's a guarantee issue. When somebody's initially eligible, they can get up to $100,000 of coverage on the employee. Guarantee issue, no medical questions, doesn't matter. Now, once that initial offering, their initial eligibility period is gone, which is the first 30 days that they're eligible for it, then they can always add it, but they'll have to show that they're insurable. They'll have medical questions that they'll have to answer, and the carrier could say, sorry, you have terminal cancer, I'm sorry, we can't cover you. Well, with the step-up guarantee, if a person got in initially for the minimum amount, which is $10,000 on themselves, at any policy anniversary, they were able to step that up, clear up to the $100,000 with no proof of insurability, which is a very rare. There's only one other company in the entire life insurance industry that I know of that even offered something like that. For good reason. You can imagine the risk that puts on an insurance company. And so the new carrier, LifeMap, they retained their contracts with the states and everything like that. They have a step-up guarantee that is a little better in some respects, but is not as good. It's less insane. The step-up guarantee is allowed on any contract anniversary, but only in increments of 10,000 at a time. So if somebody had 10,000, it would take them a while to get up to that 100,000 on a guaranteed insurability basis. So that's the one negative that there was. The positive, one of the positives that's out there is that that step-up guarantee used to be only eligible for the employee, but now it's applicable to the employee, spouse, and the children, up to the guarantee maximums on an annual basis. And there are some other contract provisions that are, but for the most part, that's the biggest thing that was different than it was. But it's not like this is something we can say, no, we'd like to stay with LifeMap because the merger is happening. They're no longer going to be licensed to do business in the state of Idaho. So it is what it is. Now, With that said, do you want me to go into the short-term disability?
Yeah,
piece of it?
yeah, but before you do, so, and Christy and I have been working closely with Mark, and if we were to switch to US Able, I mean, it feels like the best option, smooth, seamless, and if employees during open enrollment decide they want to just keep their current level of voluntary insurance, they just say, I just want to keep the current level, and they can. They don't need to do any evidence of insurability or anything. So in that way, it's going to be the smoothest option for the employees, and the costs don't really change for the
They're
employees
exactly the same.
or for us. So to me, that if that's all we did, I would support. That would be my recommendation. But
Ryan,
yeah,
quick question. The employee doesn't actually have to do anything to keep the same level of coverage, right?
correct,
Okay.
correct. Though we are going
They don't have to re-sign with this other
Well,
company?
during this enrollment, what we are going to ask employees to do is just acknowledge that, yeah, I want to keep it the same.
This one, but then going forward, if they do nothing, their coverage remains year after year.
Does US Able need new enrollment documents, or will they truly carry over what we
Yeah,
have for LifeMap?
they'll carry everything over.
Okay.
We'll just submit to them any new changes. Because one of the things that they're also offering because of this change is a brand-new open enrollment opportunity. So
Yes.
it will be for all employees, just like it was when we initially did this. They'll be able to get up to the guarantee issue maximum on themselves, their spouses, their employees. They'll be able to, if they didn't choose the long-term disability buyout, they'll be able to choose that, which I think is a really good thing, because there were a lot of people that didn't do that really should have, because of their occupations and the like. And so to have another opportunity for them to do that on a guarantee basis would be a good thing.
So from what you just said, if an employee right now has $30,000, they can buy up, or they can start out right now new with $100,000.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in 19, when we changed to LifeMap, this same program was offered. Now that LifeMap's been bought out, basically it's the same thing. So we're going to do a big push, well, HR's going to do a big push, letting employees know, hey, this is a great opportunity to do that buy-up because of that insurability option. We got involved with this mostly last week, but the program for reconciling is going to be better than the current program we have in payroll for LifeMap. So hopefully reconciling will be a little bit easier. We get to keep the same individual that we work with. Her name is Danny. She's awesome. That made us feel a lot more comfortable
Okay.
on our side.
When this is during our open enrollment, which starts next week?
Yep, in 2 days.
Okay. It's short term to get this out to all our employees.
I know.
So we got to get this out in a hurry so that
Yeah.
information, you know how I am. This is the first time I'm hearing about it, and I hate coming into my meeting and this is the first time I hear about something.
I would have given you information earlier if it was
Well,
available,
And
and
that's partially my fault. 3
Yeah.
weeks ago, I had a medical issue hit me that really put me out, and it hit right as this should have been happening. And so I have to step up to the table and take some of the responsibility for that lateness.
and
We'll
I-
talk later then.
and I was waiting for this before I talked to the employees, right?
Right.
So,
But-
Yeah.
We just
yeah.
got to get it out there. I mean,
Today,
I
yes.
hate 2 days' notice to something that is, if it's going to be a benefit for our employees, they need to all know about it. And we have
the
people that are on
entire month of
vacation, we have people that
September.
are sick, we have the same
Yeah.
situations. And
Yeah,
Yeah, the open enrollment will be the entire month of September.
that's right. So they'll have all month to get this, to
Okay.
learn about this.
Okay, you got some pressure on you.
Yeah. I
Are
feel
you
it.
going to be holding any meetings to discuss this, or?
Yes, well, we have about a dozen meetings in multiple locations where we're doing support sessions for the employees. And, beginning next week is
Okay.
when they start, and so.
But I'd like an email to go out to all employees specifically about this too, not just the open enrollment, so that there's new stuff coming out, and I want them to know new stuff.
That's part of the plan.
Okay.
You bet. Yep, I feel the same way. So that's kind of the baseline. And then there was one other piece that we have an opportunity for a benefit that goes along with this. It's already on the form and enrollment that we haven't taken advantage of in the past with the short-term disability. Because right now, and for years, we've had long-term disability, but not short-term disability. So I've asked Mark to present that as a potential option we could also add.
And that one is kind of belated just by accident, because in the past, you've had a vibrant sick leave program, sick leave bank, as I recall, but things have changed over the years. I was unaware, and it just kind of just popped up in our conversation that, oh, your sick leave program's changed now, and I don't even remember how it came up, but we started talking about short-term disability, and I said, well, I think we talked about that before, but it really wasn't applicable because you had such a vibrant sick leave program. Oh gosh, that's changed, and so hence the conversation began, and that was, gosh, what, a week ago that started.
It's been a full week.
Yeah. And so, you know, my situation was kind of in the middle of all of it too. So again, point your finger at me for belatedness. But anyway, short-term disability, our long-term disability kicks in at 90 days. And so the question becomes, what happens to a person if they're unable to work and earn an income in that 90-day period, which is the bailiwick of what's called short-term disability. And so LifeMap offers short-term disability. So what you have before you is just a couple options, really. There's 4 options there, but the first 2 are the only ones that you really should consider. And the rate sheet that you have in your hand right there shows only option 1 and 2, because that would be my definite suggestion of what to do. And the option 1 and 2 is what's referred to as an incremental plan, which allows a person to get up to 60% of their pre-disability earnings as a benefit. But if they don't want that much, they can buy whatever increment they want, starting at $100 a week. Or no, yeah.
Isn't it like down to 10?
Yeah, maybe $10 a week. I don't know why anybody would choose just $10 a week, but what have you. So the fact that it's incremental will help participation, because someone may say, ooh, I don't know that I can afford the full 60, but I would like to cover my mortgage. And that would be maybe 20% of their income. And so what I did, just so you could see what the rates for an individual would look like, because it's a function of age and it's a function of income. So what I did, and I hope that it makes sense, is for a 30-year-old, the rate would be for their various incomes if they insured 20% of their income, 40%, or a full 60%. Does that make sense? Okay.
And were these monthly rates, or did you cut
No,
it to biweekly?
We went to biweekly.
Okay.
So that would be what they would see out of 2 payrolls
Per month. Yeah.
per month. And just to give you an example of what it would cost, you don't need to offer this benefit, but since you've had those changes, this is something you could do as an enhancement.
Well, it's an offer. I mean, it's up to the employee, so I don't care if we offer it or not. I mean, I'd just soon offer it, and then it's the choice of the employee, in my opinion.
Normally, we require 25% participation. We're already paying USA Gold Life, so I don't know if we would have to have that, or if...
That is a massageable thing. If you came in at 20%, I'd almost guarantee they'd probably allow it. But at some level, they may say no, simply because it's a risk thing. These rates are based on the assumption that they're going to get a certain percentage of participation, and if it goes too far south of that. But you're absolutely right. They have a great relationship with Bannock County. they're going to do whatever they can do reasonably to
Well, if
make
they
it
come back
happen
and tell
for
us
them.
no, then that's their decision, not ours, and
So
we
through,
allow our employees to have the options.
so through open enrollment, it'll just need to be communicated. We don't have enough participation. It may not be, we may not follow through with it.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
a question on this.
Oh.
What is what accounts for the cost difference between option one and option two?
That's just what I was going to bring up. I realized I didn't bring that up. It has to do with the exclusion period. Any kind of disability policy, the one part of the provisions of a plan is the exclusion period, which is the time between when a disability begins and when benefits start. You can get a 0-7 plan, meaning 0 days for an accident and 7 days for a sickness is generally about as benefit-rich a plan as you can get. Now, the premium for that plan will be more expensive than option one, which is a 14-14. Meaning, if disability begins today, 14 days from now is when the benefits start. To separate just a fluke something from a true disability that is going to potentially cause financial hardship on a person. Now, option one is a 14-14, injury and sickness, and the option two is 30-30. Now, when we started this, it kind of, because this will dovetail with, because you already have a sick leave program that will do something. And these were the two options that we threw out, depending on.
Yeah.
And I did do a quick look at where our employees are with sick leave. We have 79 employees that are over 480 hours, but we have 67% of our employees are under 300 hours. And I broke it down to 156 employees are under 100 hours. So if we were to offer this, potentially we could have 156 employees that could use that benefit. The average of those 156 employees, the average number of hours that are being held is 40 hours. So that's really only a week where this benefit could play in.
Do we pick one of these two options, or are both of these offered?
Yes.
Pick one or the
You
other.
have to,
Sorry.
they can offer both.
And so do you have any thoughts on which one we should pick?
That's where it might be nice to have a little bit more time to see what the employees would like.
Yeah, I mean, so just glancing at it, it's not that much more expensive to get option one and get covered 2 weeks earlier for short-term disability. I mean, to me, it seems like that would be the best.
That's the
What
option
do I
I
know?
pick.
I mean, at
would
the
too.
highest rate, it's, what, $6.50 more? But that's,
Yeah.
$13 a month more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's kind of a no-brainer.
2 coffees.
Yep. Or one if you're Jen Clark.
Just saying.
You can put that in the minutes.
Yeah. We're all right.
So you would
Yeah,
need to make a decision on if you want to allow this and which option you want to go with,
Yeah.
so that then Mark and Brian know which way to.
well, I don't see why we wouldn't allow it. There's no downside for us, is there?
Not really.
Yeah, so I'd say offer it and give them
Yeah.
option one, seems to be what everybody likes.
Is that a motion?
Oh, sure. I'll make a motion that we offer this as option one.
We have a motion, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Excellent. Well, thank you. I think those were the decisions that we needed from you to move forward, and so we'll go ahead and do that now. Did you have any other questions, or Christie?
Is that the US Able document to sign?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay, good.
Well, and Mark, I believe this one that's on our agenda does not have short-term on it. So I'm gonna need a new one. The
To
one in
allow the
the,
offering of that.
Did that original have short?
it's on here, but it's not checked.
Can we just check it?
Can we just check
Yes.
the box?
Yes.
Can, do
Yeah,
you
if
mind
it's-
if we
if it's
see it
on
real
that one,
quick,
we
the
can
one you're
just
gonna
check
sign? Excuse me,
Because this was kind of a hindsight, last minute discussion.
yeah, I apologize for this.
This wasn't on
Right.
Thursday's agenda last week to originally
And we
sign.
can get you the,
Just mark it and initial it, please.
okay, so there's one they need to sign.
Let's see here.
And
It's
like
on
Mark
the-
said, this kind of came through when we had our discussion last week about the new program. He brought up the short-term disability, and I said, actually, we just changed our sick policy, so
Here.
what would that be? So we got pricing
yeah.
last minute, and everything
Okay.
just kind of
Yeah.
was.
So,
Okay.
and, 0%.
Is that all that was? And then we'll go up to 30 again.
Yeah,
Okay.
that should do it.
Great, thank you. I messed up your packet, I'm sorry.
It's got a tab for me to sign.
Let's see. Let's see, that's all the changes he made. And that's what he signed.
Okay. Anything else? All right, thank you.
You bet.
Thanks for coming.
Okay.
Okay, we'll talk to you later.
Was quick.
Yeah.
Good to see everybody.
Thanks, Mark.
Christie, you're up.
Comptroller, I have before you the renewal of the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant. Within the documents, you'll see that this is a shared grant that we do with the city of Pocatello. We are the agency that will get the grant monies, and then we allow city of Pocatello to piggyback and help them out with some of their needs. They're going to get $23,562 that they're going to use on the VESTA program. And then Bannock County is going to hopefully get $15,708 that we're going to use to replace our tough books. That should give us about 4 books. We've been utilizing this grant on an annual basis to keep those updated. And as long as we get the grant, then the county doesn't have to replace them.
Okay. And I did have a conversation, I appreciate Christie went above and beyond because tough books weren't in the original information here. So I appreciate her finding out a little more information for me.
It's a good phone call to Wendy.
All right.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant as presented.
We have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
City of Pocatello can't say we didn't do something for them today. Do you want these?
Yes, please.
All right, Kyle?
How's your morning going, Kyle?
Okay, I think there's a few unhappy people in the McCammon-Aramo income area, but yeah,
So I had a conversation with the principal at McCammon Elementary. They had to cancel school.
yeah, it's gonna be a minute or two till they have power.
Are we holding elections?
Yep.
We're good. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got the voting booths out yesterday, but they'll be in the dark for a little while.
It's gonna work out okay, I think.
Good, good. Well, morning, everybody. Kyle Burmester, Bannock County Public Works Director. I'm here today to, what you have before you is, what I'm requesting is commission approval on a grant that we'd like to go after. This has been kind of quick, and it was quick to our grants and everything because they came out with it in June 22nd, but I was visiting with LTAC and stuff yesterday, and you couldn't even get an application for it till the 1st of August. And so then once that kind of hit, that we even knew what we were kind of working with a little bit more, I discussed it quite a bit with LTAC and with some engineers, local engineers, on what we could utilize, because main purpose is to help mitigate the impacts that, like a state project. So if a state project's going on and they're shoving all the traffic your way, and so at first it was, I don't think we have anything there, and so we kind of kept going back and forth, but we finally, kind of working through LTAC and stuff, found a section that we feel real confident that we have a good chance on, and that's the section of Old Highway 91 from Virginia to McCammon. Mainly because we have proof of numerous different interstate closures where they've ran all their traffic down a county road. So that's where it's kind of hooking us into this. And so what I'm proposing to do in this, you've just got kind of the application. We're still trying to hammer out things. I've got support letters out for all the local schools, mayors, everything, trying to get that as part of the package. And there's a few things on there that it's not a completed thing yet. But we're looking at an asphalt overlay across the whole thing. Depending on money-wise, there's a couple options we would have with this. We can contract it, and this grant would pay for the contractor to come in, pave it. We might get 4 miles, 5 miles, depending on when we bid that out and stuff like that. Or another option I'm looking at is making enough time in our schedule that the county can do it, because if we can do it for 140, 160,000 a mile, maybe we can pave the whole thing. I mean, it takes our time, and yes, it doesn't pay for our fuel or our labor, but we'd get more done, more bang for our buck. So there's still a couple different options if we were awarded it. But once they award it, they will award it in around 17th of April or October to the 19th. And the deadline date, they don't really have a deadline on most of their grants. This is coming from the state. They would like to see them done within 18 months, up to 24 months. We would be looking at having it done hopefully before end of our fiscal year, but it might go into 25s like in October with our schedule, but I don't know if that would change anything for us on our end budget-wise. It'd just be asphalt that the grant was paying for.
And did you ever find anything in writing with that, or was that just through conversation?
That's just the conversation with LTAC. They're kind of, they only did their meeting last Tuesday, or it was the Friday or a Tuesday, and on how to do this grant and stuff. So I mean, it's been kind of rushed the whole time, and there wasn't a lot of super information. I don't know if Nancy or any of you guys, did you get a lot out of that?
I briefly got to review it yesterday. I was out last week.
Oh, yeah, you didn't miss.
Hopefully the award, though, will have the dates. That's all I need then.
Yeah, and that's what they were saying, is on a lot of their grants, depending on how big the project is, they don't want to limit it to a certain date, because if there's no way possible to get it done, so they just said there are 2 break points, 18 months, 24 months.
But all you're asking for right now is permission to apply for the grant.
To apply
So we
for
don't, because there's nothing about matching, there's nothing about,
There's no match.
no, okay.
Yeah, so
No project.
this is 100% fund to us. There is some other parts to it, so like the grants, our grant said, there is a section of Aramo Road that would be also on, I think we're going to try to get it, everything on the county road system. But if we can do it, and that was another thing, is if we did it with our own people, we could do an MOU with Aramo and try to pave through there, and that kind of helps with the grant approval also. So
I have no problem applying for a grant. but there's a lot of blank lines in this paperwork that I
Yeah,
received.
and like I say, that's just what the app would be. We're almost have it put together and it's a full package.
Okay.
So our only risk on the back end, should we be awarded, is your time and maybe some, not asphalt costs, because the asphalt would be covered by here.
Time and
And
equipment.
And equipment, that's if we wanted to get more done. Our worst case scenario is our time involved with bidding it out to a contractor to do it. We don't have to do anything. We could get $2 million and have a contract.
I'd rather do more work and have your.
So
I guess that's my question, from a budgetary standpoint, if this goes into next year, what kind of budgetary impact would that have?
It really won't, because we're gonna pay them to do paving anyways. We would just not have to pay for the materials, because the grant would pay the materials to do that section,
So then.
it would just be added to our maintenance
Well, I
program.
guess that's the next question, is how does that bump your maintenance down the line? Does that kick road maintenance, instead of, does that move us out a year if you're gonna have to spend a summer doing this, or?
it's just
No.
this project versus that project, right?
Yeah, we usually try to pave like 7 or something miles of asphalt per year.
Right.
So this is gonna double that, so that's where I was saying it'll be tight if we do it, but we would have to schedule and start paving a little quicker, but it'd be a scheduling thing.
And if we had a good spring, that would help as opposed to a long winter.
Well, good spring,
Yeah.
that means rain, so
That's-
that doesn't help him.
That's,
Maybe if we had a spring instead of just going from winter to summer.
I think to save that money, it's well worth trying to get as much as we can and schedule in how to get it done. Idea I had is, I asked them if that could be part of it, is instead of just the materials, is what about hiring somebody to help haul? So since it's a ways from the hot mix plant, and they said that would work on the grant, is you could bid that out and have somebody help haul so that our paver could go faster. Because that's our biggest choke point, is the haul.
Materials.
So you'll
So,
build that into the budget, so we
and that would be something if,
plan accordingly.
that could, then we could maybe do 14 miles in the same amount of time we normally did 7 miles.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I move that we authorize application for the grant as discussed.
A motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Sorry about it being rushed.
It's okay.
It was just a little crazy one.
That's everything today.
Yeah.
All right, next on our agenda, we have license approval for alcohol licenses.
She just came, she hasn't signed in on any of the grant stuff.
Oh, okay.
She's
Michelle.
Mr.
Bowen
Chair,
Tokyo Belly Sushi.
that's a good place to eat.
Doesn't sound very appetizing to me.
It's good. It's good.
The name, it just, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chair, I move that we
Sure to
approve
run
the
in
alcohol
favor of
licenses as presented.
We have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And then we have certificates of residency.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the certificates of residency as presented.
We have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And with that being said, we'll be at recess until 11 o'clock.